In the entire 35 years of this conference and the existence of the OACB, there have only been 2 prior Lifetime Achievement Awards bestowed. This is presented by the OACB to a public official, board member, or other individual who has demonstrated throughout his or her professional lifetime a commitment to enhancing life for people and individuals with developmental disabilities. Every now and then, you meet somebody in life who's a one-of-a-kind. And I've only been here about 5.5 years, and so it was an absolute honor to be able to work with somebody the caliber of Frank Hickman. And so at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Lori Stanfa so that we can properly honor Frank Hickman.
Get that right. Good afternoon. It has been my great honor and privilege to work with Frank over the last 15 years while working at OACB. He is a constant source of support for our staff and our members as he consistently provides us with sound guidance and legal advice on a multitude of issues. Over the last couple of years in particular, Frank and I have been working very closely on the Ball versus Kasich lawsuit. Personally, I appreciate his instincts and his wisdom, and always his wry sense of humor. He makes me laugh a lot. What has always been true about Frank is that he is a strong and a fierce advocate for people with developmental disabilities. He's a strong supporter of our county board system and the entire DD system. His moral compass inspires me daily to continue to strive to do the right thing. I am proud to call him my friend. I want to thank Adam Herman. He did not want to be acknowledged, but I'm going to thank him anyway. We wanted to put together a real tribute to Frank today, and so we will be showing you a video with clips of many of the people whose lives he has touched, including all the people that are in this room today. We think that this video does highlight the extraordinary person that Frank Hickman is, and he's well deserved and honored to receive this award. Thank you.
All right. So you've known Frank for a long time. Describe Frank for me in one word.
Honorable.
Dedicated.
Champion.
Integrity.
Faithful. Tenacious.
Generous. He, I think, loves what he does. He loves the practice of law. He loves his clients. He likes doing that work.
I've never met anyone that loves what he does more than Frank. That every day he gets up, he's excited to come to work. He's excited, and this excitement transcends to everything else that he does.
You could see the wheels turning in Frank's head, and you could see the twinkle in his eye, and you just knew that he was really going to enjoy helping us.
He's been an advocate for people with developmental disabilities and people with disabilities generally. As a part of his passion for so long, there are a few people who have that breadth of experience.
Frank has done as much or more than any single person to enable people with disabilities to live here in the community in Cuyahoga County.
Frank hasn't wavered. He has always been there. He was there when we started. He's been there through the challenging and difficult times that we've faced in this field, and he remains committed today. It's tough to find that in a professional.
Frank came to Ohio to work for Legal Aid in Cleveland, specifically because they had a mental disability project. And he has been so dedicated to that population his entire career.
When boards were being formed, there was Frank involved in that. When the association was being formed, Frank was involved in the early stages of that.
I think that the DD system in Ohio would not be anywhere near what it is today without Frank, because he's been involved in it from the beginning.
Now, when you look at the legislation that has been formed over the years, Frank's handprint can be seen on the legislative language.
Throughout the years, he's been involved in all of the major movements in the developmental disability system.
Our movement into housing,
Shutting down institutions,
our movement into community in terms of integration.
to getting the boards going. And
Things like Medicaid on a kind of macro level.
Frank was critically important.
He's always been really good at being able to look at system-wide issues.
I could go on and on and on about Frank's involvement in the system.
Frank's more of an icon in his field than even he will recognize. Frank's history, and especially special education, from a very young age is recognized by attorneys around the country.
During that time, he's always strived to ensure that individuals with disabilities have the same opportunities that all of us have. Doesn't matter if Frank was in a courtroom, boardroom, or speaking at a convention. He speaks with conviction, and he speaks from his heart.
Clearly he's generous with his time and resources, but he's also really generous with people.
Frank has been a tremendous mentor to me. He's the first lawyer I worked with as I finished law school and as I started working at our firm. And he taught me how a lawyer should behave.
When I was a very young lawyer, and Frank was a young lawyer still, he and I worked on a Medicaid cutback case together. And he was so helpful to me and so generous.
Early on in my career at the Cuyahoga County Board, listening to Frank talk about Medicaid, I learned a lot about Medicaid from Frank.
I always appreciated talking with Frank or listening to Frank because I thought I was listening to a professor at a law school.
You're thinking you're in big trouble, and then all of a sudden through the door you see this briefcase, and it's the briefcase that Frank has always carried. And you kind of take a sigh and go, that's right, he's with me.
It's really hard for me to describe what I've learned from Frank, because he is such a good person. He's just taught me so much over the years.
He's very persistent, but also careful, and excellence, I think, has probably been a touchstone for him all his life.
He's a very passionate man. He really cares about things. He cares about what he does, and about the world around him, about the people he meets.
He kind of has this unique skill of being able to open up your heart to work with your mind.
He's more approachable than you'll first guess. He's kind. He's sincere. He's honest.
I thought, I can trust this man. And I still think that.
You can trust him, and just intuitively.
Frank comes across as a fairly mild-mannered person when you first meet him.
Somewhat formal.
Frank is a gentle soul. He's a gentleman.
And he's really good at hugging, as many people know.
And when you look at him, you know that he was a man of significant thought.
That's one of the things I first liked about him, was he was not cool.
And then he exhibits that dry wit of his.
He has a wry sense of humor. You have to watch out for that.
He's self-deprecating in his humor.
Frank is a terrible dart player, the worst I've ever seen.
And makes you laugh.
Frank said to Mike, "Mike, I have all 10 of my fingers, and you only have 9.
He welcomes you into his personality.
One summer, we had our firm outing. We went up to Put-in-Bay. We took the whole firm up on the ferry. And so I convinced him that we should rent these little mini bikes, these little motorbikes. And so he and I and a couple of other people from the firm were just tooling around the island on these little motorbikes. And Frank looks at me and says, I just couldn't imagine that something so mindless could be so much fun.
Frank, I think this is a wonderful honor that you have been given by the association, and you certainly deserve it more than anyone I can think of.
I just think that Frank is one of those truly good people. Never self-interested, always concerned about other people and doing the right thing. And
I hate you, Frank.
Okay, go ahead.
Congratulations, Frank. You are most deserving of this Lifetime Achievement Award, and I'm proud to know and to work with you for all these years.
somebody I've worked with for 34 years and a wonderful human being, somebody who is very much responsible for my career and where I am in life.
No, I want to be Frank Hickman.
Thank you, Frank, for everything you've done for the hundreds of thousands of people with developmental disabilities and mental illness here in the state of Ohio and beyond. Certainly your work has gone beyond Ohio.
I wish my career would have started on the same path as Frank's, and it didn't. And he's a person who can look back on his life and know that he made a difference for a broad range of people. I'm not sure if he even feels that way.
Frank, congratulations. You are the best.
Frank, congratulations. This is a well-earned honor. You're in wonderful company of your predecessors. We're all very proud of you, and we're very happy to be part of this moment with you.
Well deserved, Frank.
That's the kind of stuff I'd like to be able to look back on my life and say I did.
Oh yeah, Frank is the dearest guy. I mean, he really is the best.
Frank Hickman.
Very few have seen me at a loss for words. This is one of those times when words just fail. I can't begin to put into words how much I appreciate the support from my family and colleagues, the ones who are here today, the ones who are not here today. It's been an incredible privilege to work in this system over the years. And I suppose I could dance it, but that would probably shock people more than... I hope to continue working with you as we go into the next stages, and thank you all from the bottom of my heart.
We searched for weeks, and Adam led the effort to find the perfect tribute to Frank for his service. You may not know this about Frank, but he is an avid woodworker, and this piece by Don Lehman took 65 active working hours to make. This vessel, from 551 separate pieces of bloodwood, maple, ebony, and walnut veneer, I think there's poetic justice in that for somebody to blend all that together who has dedicated a lifetime of service to social justice. I encourage you all to see it up close. It's pretty mesmerizing. And Frank, thank you for a lifetime achievement.